Junction, which is this place. It's a public venue that focuses on Southeast Asia. Day by day, it's just a reading room, so everybody can come and read book about Southeast Asia, but we have a quite intense program of events, as you can see, that are very varied. So today is about street food. On the 10th, we are opening a photo exhibition downstairs, which is on Klong Toi. It's a Korean photographer who has followed the people of Klong Toi, a slum area in Bangkok, for 12 years. So it's quite special. On 11, we are discussing a book about Burma with the author. So as you can see, it's a variety of topics, but the common thread is that they show different aspects of Southeast Asia. The challenge as well as the richness of this region. So this is our mission. It's really to help understand as far as possible, because it's not easy to understand what is happening in this region. So this is South Sea Junction, so welcome here. Today we are going to start a new series, which actually is the idea of one of the speakers to look at street food beyond food itself. And particularly today we are going to look at economic aspects. What if street food disappear? What it imply for the sellers as well as what it imply for the consumer? So we are going to start first with a short video, just 3 minutes, and then I will introduce the speaker and we will start with the panel. She will talk about what the food is disappear from the perspective of the vendors. Yeah, and then George, I pronounce it Italian way, but actually probably it's an aspiration. Yeah, but he will talk about the perspective of the user. What is the impact of the user if street food? And that is based on a report he has done, co-authored with Sarah Lee, yes, on this topic for Vigo, which is an organization working on this kind of issue. So please, Adnan.
Thank you very much. And good afternoon, everybody. ไม่ได้ยินนะคะ
ไม่ได้เสียงเบาอะพูดใกล้ๆไหม
Better?
โอเคค่ะ
So I'm here today with okay to speak about street vendors of Bangkok, and my talk today actually will be based on my research was finished in 2017, and it was actually the research started with the idea of how should street vendor be administered in Thailand actually. But we started with Bangkok, and we also want to explore how the street vending was managed in other countries, and also the history of how street vendor was managed in Bangkok since 1973. So the methodology here, we collect data from 400 street vendors in 4 areas, in 4 districts of Bangkok, and 200 buyers and 200 general public. And the 4 districts are Bang Lak, Patuwan, Panakorn, and Sampantawong, which are in the part of Bangkok. And the selection of location was done with a consultation with the Pesaki, because my criteria was to have the area with the poor and not so poor vendors together. So after a long consultation with Pesaki about the criteria of the selection and the possibility of data collection, we came up with the 4 areas. And also we collect some qualitative data. An interview with the BMA officer, which included the director of the Pesaki division and some other head of the Pesaki division, which do the operation with the contact directly with the street vendors, and also the officers from Ministry of Social Development and Security, and the Bank of People's Project, and other general public, including Kun Sriwat Rabanujikun, which is Mr. Sandwich. So we somehow right? Mr. Sriwat Sandwich. So we talked to him about this also, and we also talked to the shop employees of the shop in Prakong Mela and Silom areas who have been affected by the cleaning of the streets by the government policy, and the research was funded by the Thailand Research Fund. So this is the area which I did collect data, and below you see with the action on street vending in 2015, which means that the number of street vendors who are affected by the actions on street vending return the pavement to the public. That's how the government call it. So altogether around actually there are more than 60,000 of street vendors who have been affected by this policy. So for the data, I found that 3/4 of street vendors are female, but don't be surprised because in many aspects we found that the vendings are family business. So sometimes the husband asks the wife to respond to the questionnaire, and the age distribution, as you see, that most of them are in in the middle age, 40 to 59, and they're quite mature. And educational level, you see that most of the street vendors are 400 respondents. Almost half have primary level of education, and some of them don't have education at all. And 10.5% have college degree. About the domicile, we found that in some districts, in some areas, most of the vendors are from Bangkok, and half, like in Panakorn area, it's 50-50. But in the Batuman area, 70% come from the provinces. And this has some kind of explanation that because in Batuman area, we collect data in front of the World Trade Center. And this is quite a new area, and we found that in this area, many people from the province came and earn a living as a street vendors because it's a lucrative area, very good business. And 57% sell food, and actually there is not much differences between the percentage of food selling in each area. But you see that the ready-to-cook food has the highest percentage. What I mean ready-to-cook food is the food that cook on the street. So we're talking about the food that are catered to the people, to the office people, and to the students. So this has the highest percentage. And when it comes to the prepared food, it's high also, which means that people buy the prepared food and also the ready-to-eat food to go home and eat at home, or the office, or and other places. But at about length of time in business, we found that most of them work as vendors more than 10 years. So it means that this is how they earn for their living. And this is the occupation, not just a pastime. So the action by the BNA on the street vendors will really affect their livelihood. And the reason for choosing this livelihood in these four areas, because we found that high percentage say that they don't like to be an employee. And I would say that there are more reason into that, but you will notice that the end is higher than 400, which means that each provide more than one answer. So, but it comes out in the end that they said they dislike to be an employee, and that's how it comes. But I think good income and can find another work is another interesting aspect also, which you find at the end of the presentation when they cross the variables between the characteristic and the reason for choosing this livelihood. And also the assessment of livelihood, we asked them to assess the livelihood. So we asked if they what level are they in? Are they earn just enough to get by? Are they having savings but not desire to expand? Or they have savings or they desire to expand? We found that this is understandable. Most of the people said they earn enough for living, but also high percentage said that they want to expand. But when they said they want to expand, it means that they want to expand into formal business, not just open another store or that kind of thing. They want to be in formal business. And also you still see the high percentage of people who earn enough to have savings but don't want to expand. So this is from the business perspective, this says something that it's a place where people learn to be in business, and with the encouragement or support, they should be able to improve the business and become a bigger business. So this is from business aspect, I would say that. And look at the spouse occupation. You will see that in Pachuman, in almost all the other areas, that street vending is family business. So it means that it's the main earning, it's the main source of income for the family, and except in Bangkok and in Pachuman area. So which this is in Pachuman area we found that the husband and the wife were together, but but sometimes the husband go back to the provinces and leave the wife tend the business. So that's why we have more people in the Pachuman who said that who with a high level of male participation. And this is the daily investment. This is average. So we find that the investment and the earning, but actually it's interesting that if as high as $200 investment until 10,000 baht investment in business. So we have variety, we have diverse size, different size of business in this business, and this is one of the reasons that the BMA keep telling us that they're not poor anymore. So that's the reason why they said that street vending should go, because they're not poor anymore. And the other reason is that they're not Bangkok people. So they're not supposed to sell in Bangkok. This is the two main reasons that we keep telling us that they should go. And for the wedding places, most they sell on the pavement, and some sell on the street. And when we ask you, do you want to be street vendors for life? Yes, yeah. 66% said yes. And the reason is that no other choices, good earnings, good location, self-reliance, and flexible. And when it comes to self-reliance, most of the people who say self-reliance are the one who is quite old. So it means that they can earn for a living without having to rely on the children's support. So they say self-reliance. They can sell even they're old. So when it comes to the relationship between gender, age, and reasons for wedding, you see that it's the come to and you said no choices. The people who is below 40 has low percentage of no choices, but the older the respondent, the higher the percentage of no choices. So it's no choices, autonomy, and flexibility that is the reasons for wedding. And we talk about investment and semi-variation. So this is how it comes out. And actually, this graph tells a lot about how people earn for their living, how much they earn, and how they evaluate themselves, which is implies also the spending. And when it comes to the gender education and design for expansion, I cannot say that you cannot cannot draw a conclusion from this one, but still, I think that the age who with the most desire to expand is between 30 and 49. Still very young, still young. And this is the last slides. This has some gender aspect that so that the lots of female vendors have more than 10 years of experience in this business. So it means that it tells us that it's a supplementary income for the family. But this doesn't say that. That doesn't tell about the being family business, but only the female part of female part and how long have they been in business. And I think this is my last slide. With all this data, I think we should do things about these 6 points. What happened to the livelihood of vendors, besides the customers, and look at this street vending from business aspects. And also, when you go back, I didn't mention this much about the history of how the BMA did with street vending, but when you go back to 1970, from 1973 up till now, there's some kind of consistency of how the BMA did with street vending. It's like cat and mouse. So when in time of business, in time of economic crisis, they invited them to come back. But another time they chasing them away. So it's very consistent actually. And the negative effects of our business and backward linkage is, I think we talk to the people who have been affected, to the shop who have been affected by this action with Silom Road and in Bangkok. And they said that their business was hurt badly because no people walking on the pavement, so no customers. And also, I think there are another aspect which should receive some action rather than relocation with the food hygiene and the quality of foods, because I think from my observation and also even we're not saying that they at all of them are not clean, but the food hygiene aspect should be taken into consideration. And I think the last one is about the role of street vending in economic, culture, social aspect, and also the effect on the customer. How street vending help alleviate the inequality in Thai society. I think that's also important, which the government hasn't put much thought into. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this very comprehensive presentation. I'm sure there will be a lot of questions following this, but we go first to exactly to the role of street vending and the impact on consumer will. Okay, ready?
It's very loud. Okay. Is better? Is it better?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I'm going to talk basically about a study that I did together with Sarah Reed. We did it last year. Sarah was working for WIGO, which is the Women in Informal Economy Organizing, and something else that I always forget. But anyway, they've done very interesting work. They did with domestic workers, and now they're involved with street vendors. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background, then what we did, and then some of the main findings. I'm not going to cover everything that we have in the report. You can see there the report. The report is called "If Street Food Disappears: Projecting the Cost for Consumers." And so the background is this: the background for Beyond Food as an idea that I had in a campaign that I'm trying to push in for the study. Basically comes from what started happening at the beginning of last year. The eviction of street vendors have been going on for several years, but in the last couple of years, there's been a particular focus on street food vendors. Now, my problem was that I felt that the discussion about removing street food vendors was very narrow, and it was based on some what I consider to be misconceptions. One is that street food is only for tourists. Two, that the issues of street food only have to do with the food and the vendor. In a sense, they treat food as a commodity and the vendor as isolated from the overall society and the functioning of the city. So, So, the first thing that I want, as I said, the context for the research and for Beyond Food is to place street food in a context where you can discuss or research the different aspects that are related to street food. And there is this is not an exhaustive list, but these are the ones that I'm kind of interested in. Street food is related to urban space and how urban space is designed and used. Street food is related to environment. Street food is related to, as we saw, livelihood. It's actually linked to the economic functioning of the city. It has a cultural dimension. So this misconception that when you evict, a street food vendor is just the street food vendor and the food that they sell, it's for me it's very superficial and very narrow. This is something that is embedded and linked to all other dimensions of the city. In particular, for me, in this case, for the research, is I'm interested in putting in the context of food security. Okay, now food security. Food security basically has three components: accessibility, availability, and utilization. That's the standard. When you talk about food security, those are the standard components that you look at. Now, it seems to me that in that context, street food could be a very clear component of urban food security, and this is something that is being recognized, particularly in Africa. There is a lot of work coming out of Africa at the moment in looking at the role of street food vendors as a key component on food security. Here, we're going slightly in a different direction because we are banning street food. We are evicting street food. So in that context, then we're putting the food security, the urban food security at risk, because we're not offering an alternative to what they can provide. Okay, so that was the general context. There's the specific issue that then we target in our research is that, okay, if street food disappears, what would be the difference for consumers in terms of expenditure? Okay, so we did that through we collected data on going to give you the details. You can all download the publication. It's very nice to read. So, download it, have a look at more details. But we look at two surveys. One was how frequently people consume meals from street food vendors. We specifically took out snacks, fruits, drinks. We specifically asked for breakfast, lunch, dinner, meals. So that was one survey. The other survey was to compare prices between the street food vendor and the nearest, let's say, formal alternative in the same area. So these were the two surveys that we looked at. One thing that I want to mention, because this is another thing that irks me a lot when I read some articles, is what is it that we're calling street food? And so we came, for the purpose of the study, we were looking at you can see the two definitions there. From that perspective, the main issue here is that shop houses that put tables on the pavement are not street food. So in this case, for example, the Michelin star of J5 is not a street food Michelin star, because that's a shop house that has tables on the pavement. So they consider street food. That's not street food. Okay? So I just wanted to put it there because it's something that bothers me a lot of some of the discussions. So what is it that we got? First of all, and this is something that animals who work from other people have already shown, the consumers of street food is not necessarily, it goes across the income levels. Regardless of whether it's low income or somebody earning more than 30,000 baht per month, street food plays a major role among all income groups. Okay. Next, we ask the average number of times that people would buy a meal a week from street food. And we didn't see much of a difference, but there are some differences. I apologize, I was planning to put the actual numbers there. One thing that is interesting to notice here is that, again, low-income groups, which are the ones with 10,000 baht or less, tend to buy less street food. Now, there are a number of reasons for that. We assume, we didn't get all the data, but we assume there are a number of reasons for that. One that Hyoshien had mentioned to me is the fact that the low-income people may eat only 2 meals per week rather than per day, rather than eating 3 times a day. So there is that dimension. Okay, there is a dimension that obviously people with very low income, poor, under the poverty line, even street food may be too expensive, and therefore they don't buy it. So we found that the people that earn 10,000 or less, they tend to buy, if I remember correctly, the number was 8.4 meals per week. But as you can see, in general, it moves between the 8.5 to the maximum was this the group between 20 and 30,000, which buy around almost 11 meals per week. Okay. And then this is the price differences. What the comparison of the prices between street food and the alternatives in the same area. there are differences. We found that it's kind of interesting. Contrary to what you think, they are, depending on where you go in Bangkok, you may find different price scales, both for street food and for some of the formal food outlets. If it's something like a food court in a shopping mall, it's very likely to be pretty much the same, regardless of which part of Bangkok you're in. But shop houses, obviously, things like shop houses in Ceylon charge quite a bit more than shop houses, for example, in Minburi. And by the way, but these were the locations where we collected data. We tried to cover areas that were high-end and very likely to have a high income, with areas that were more remote and low income, like in Minburi, or middle level, like Bangkok. Okay, there were two. In this case, there were two areas that jump out. One was Bangkok, where the difference in price was much higher than other places. And what we found there is that, but we couldn't find, unfortunately, we couldn't find the reason, but street food in Bangkok is cheaper than any other area where we have been. And the alternatives there were all food courts, or there are very few shop houses, but most of them are food courts or supermarkets and that kind of stuff. So that was one that why we think that's the difference in price. In Sapang Taksin, it's the opposite. The difference in price is very small, and we suspect from 3 or 4 very formal interviews that we did, there is a particular arrangement whereby shop houses are the ones, are also the owners of the street food stall. So they hire somebody to then, go around the street and sell food. And we assume, although don't quote me on this one, but we assume that that's the reason why the difference in price is so small, because at the end of the day, it's the same business. So, having collected that data, then we combine these two to try to get an idea of how much would be the difference in terms of what people would need to spend. And here you see the result. In average, throughout the whole sample, is 357 baht per month extra. Okay, as you can see, because this is a combination of the frequency with the cost. Then, as I said, the low income, they eat less frequently. Therefore, the difference in expenditure is the smallest one. Okay, but so this is, let's say, the results, the hardcore numbers of what we did. 357 baht per month extra, and different income groups would have different levels. Now, here's the thing. What does it mean? What does 357 baht per month mean? So, here are some figures to compare. According to the National Statistical Office, in 2016, the average expenditure in food and beverage per household member was 2,923 baht. Of that, what they call prepared food, and as you saw with what Narumon presented before, prepared food is food that is taken home from outside or eaten outside. So prepared food per member of household, it was 1,588. Okay, so other expenditures to relate to this. Household expenditure per month on health is 507 baht. This is according to, these are the official figures, okay? This within whatever. And household expenditure in education is 823. So, this is what 357 baht represents 12% of the total household expenditure, 22% of prepared food. It represents 70% of what an expenditure on health, and 43% of the expenditure on education. So when you see, for most of us probably, when we say 357 baht, we go like, sure. But then when you put it in this context, you start saying, okay, hang on a second. If you have a situation where you either pay for a health issue or buy food, because the numbers are getting very close, then you see the significance of these 357. Okay. Now let's look specifically at the low income groups, which are the 10,000 baht, and who are in our calculations was 350 the extra expenditure that they would need to do to buy the same amount of meals. So, first of all, the minimum wage in Bangkok is 325 baht per day. Okay, and there was a paper from TDRI that came out recently, about a couple of months ago, where they found out that taxi drivers earn between 300 and 400 baht per day. So an expenditure of 300, an extra expenditure of 315 is pretty much one extra day of work in order to get the food. Okay, let's look at some other. The average income of informal workers, again, according to the National Statistical Office, is around, let's say, 7,000 baht per month. So that, if that's the, let's say, like another one was mentioning, if that's the sole income provider in a household is 3 people, 315 baht represents 900 baht per month extra. So it can have a very significant impact on the situation of informal workers. The voluntary social security system, the prices, there are two or three packages, and they go between 70 baht or to 300 baht. So you have here a situation where you need to choose. Either you pay for social protection, to have a health insurance, or to cover debt, or buy the food again. So it is really drastic. The idea of food poverty line, it's still debatable, but in general, it's been accepted that the food poverty line is 54% of the poverty line. So the food poverty line is 1,692. So 315 baht could, having to spend that extra, could easily put you under this poverty line. So these were the ones that I wanted to bring to the foreground. And these are like the hard numbers. These are the actual economic analysis that we did. There are other issues that we didn't research, but that you need to consider when you have the situation of having to pay more for your food. this has been documented in Asia, in Africa, and in Latin America, which is the coping mechanism the household tend to use when price of food goes up. Number one, you go for cheaper, less nutritious food with all the health consequences that would have. Number two, there is a shift in the dynamic, the gender dynamic within the household. Because, for example, if the alternative, instead of buying food, is to start cooking food, more often than not, that means that the woman will need to dedicate more time to shop and to cook. And the same thing happens with the distribution of nutritious food intra-household, boys versus girls. So all these consequences, for me, this is like the snowball that comes when you look at banning street food in the context of, okay, what is the impact of this? Okay, so thank you very much. That's all I want.
Thank you very much. Again, a very comprehensive and really also question about the amounts and the significance of the amount. So I open the floor for the first three questions. One, two, one more. Three. Okay, please first. We'll take three questions first, and then we will have the answer.
Hi. Okay, so my main question was for you, and it was about the year you start looking at the history of street food vendors and policy of the government. So I was wondering if you could expand a little bit more on how it's changed over time, but where you're getting the information from and why you start in 1973.
Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Tim. Thanks for the talk, really interesting. I was just wondering, do you think competition between street food vendors and the shop houses helps keep the prices in the shop houses low? So if street food vendors were to be shut down more, if it's in more cases, would that then increase the shop house, the price of food in shop houses, and thus exacerbate the problem further?
Hans Grover, Commercial Monitor. John, can you please give some information about the street vendors you surveyed, about the businesses? You said the earnings of them. So, do you have information what are the earnings of the street vendors you surveyed? What is the revenue? What is the profitability? And did you survey whether how many are registered, non-registered, and how many have registered employees and not? So my question is towards informal business on the one side, and on the other side, what is the revenue and profitability of these vendors you surveyed?
Most likely, I would say yes. Now, if you listen to the gossips, you hear stories about that, but more from the intervention of the convenience store chains in the issue of pushing for street vendors to be removed. And in fact, I mean, the scenario that you present is likely to happen. Yes. But it would be just speculation at this stage. We don't know what the shop houses, how they would deal with this issue. The issue of the convenience store, yes, it is it is another one that probably my understanding is that it's already happening in the sense that, for example, 7-Eleven seems to start carrying a greater variety of prepared food, which comes very close to the street food, which they didn't have before. Now, whether, it all depends on how paranoid you are, whether they knew it beforehand, or it's a reaction to the eviction of the street food. I don't know.
Okay, for the first question, the reason I established 1973 is because it was the year that Bangkok was established. Bangkok was the merge of the Bangkok, Phuket and Thonburi. So 1970, at the end of 1973, Bangkok was merged with Thonburi. So it became Bangkok. And that's why we started I started in 1973. And when you trace back the history, you can see around 10 periods of the different periods of what's happening, the important policy that happens in each period. So I would say that the most important one was the establishment of the Teskit. Before the present Teskit, Teskit was actually established before this one, but it was then dissolved because it was against the law. And then in 1992 it came back again, and it's a formal Teskit. That's the one. And the second one is in 1992 also the promulgation of the law of which we call it has a long name. It's about the law of the orderliness and cleanliness of Bangkok. And that is the important one because it's the one that allows VFA, with the approval of the traffic division of the police department, to allow the vendors to sell in the designated area. That's the important part. And the third one, I think that the third important part is about the high time of street vending, which is in around 2014. Just 2014, just year before the accident against street vending. In that year, the BMA came out to admit that street vending is part of Bangkok. So because Bangkok has won award and tourism award, and it's because of street vendors. So with the 3 years in a row of winning this award, the BMA came out and said that okay, we think street vendor is important. So there's some kind of campaign, and the designated area hasn't increased because of this campaign. So that campaign in 5 districts, there are 5 different campaigns in different aspects, like flowers, like food, something like that. It's very detailed, but if you can see it, I'll share with you all the details. This is very detailed, okay? And that's I think that's the important periods that about the management of street vending in Bangkok. And about the legal and illegal street vendors, this research we found out of 400 street vendors that we interviewed, almost half of them were illegal. And some in this non-designated area. I don't remember the exact figure, but almost half. And about the markup, the profitability, I cannot tell because of the so detail, but I did calculate about the average percentage of the business. But you just know that you have very poor vendors and you have not so poor and you have rich vendors. And still, you have mostly the poor vendors sell in the community because they cannot come out on the street. The street is very expensive, actually. This space, normally. So the poor vendor usually sells in the community, or they have a very small place, or they just have to move. So that's my impression.
Let me add something to that. It's extremely difficult to draw the line between, saying this is illegal and this is not. Basically, what we're talking about is, whether they're informal or they're formal. Now, depending on the district, the arrangements with the district officers are different. And what you find in some districts is that vendors don't register because it doesn't make any difference. They need to pay to register, you need to pay a certain amount, and that allows you to sell in a particular designated area. But in certain districts, there is the habit of the district officers come around and every month fine the vendor pretty much the same amount that they would need to pay to register. So basically they think there's not much difference between being registered or not being registered. And so they keep on operating. It's this very informal arrangement between the district officers and the vendors.
Three more questions?
Yes.
One, okay. Two and three, okay. Please.
I have one question each for Dr. Narumon. You said that the people are not from Bangkok, but then what does it mean? Because I don't think that they commute from the provinces, they live in Bangkok. So when you say they are not from Bangkok, if you can explain what it means. Georgia, I was wondering whether you have also looked into the number of family members and the age of the consumers, because if they are single household, young single, and then the impact of all this not having the option is very different. So all this, whether they want to cook and all that option will be totally different from bigger household. So whether you can
You already replied in a way explaining the difference between registered and non-registered, but if you could detail a little bit more. And my main question is, are there organizations or associations trying to network the street vendors or some sort of unions, let's say, or
They're sitting over there.
okay.
We will give them words, yes. Please first, question.
Hi, thank you very much for the presentations. My question is with regard to the use of the data to advocate for the policymakers. To what extent the policymakers have access to the data, or what's your plan in making use of the data to advocate for the policy changes? Thank you.
Okay, we have a fourth question.
Hi, yeah, I wonder, because you discussed with the government, I wonder how Thailand reconcile between conflicting policy, because on one hand, tourism majority of Thailand, this year is a year of food, and they're promoting a lot about food, and it's a big draw for tourists. How would they do if it's conflicting right now, and how tourism could come in and help promoting or advocating that policy as well?
I think it's the same like having so many biennale but wanting to close the BACC here. Yeah. So this is something to reflect. Okay, I give again the word, this time to the lady first and then...
For you, Kyoko, it's too loud? No.
the house situation in the provinces. So they didn't come back and forth. They just have a rented places in Bangkok, and then sometimes they go back, like in Songkran or in the Thambun Den Sing. And some of them do not farm anymore. They hire someone to do the farming for them. So still they have linkage with the provinces. Yeah. So that's one. And about the advocate me. The BMA asked for a copy of the research, and but we don't know what they're going to make use of them. But I was invited by the Committee on the Reforming of the Law. But it's the government. The government has a unit called the Law Reform Office that was called to with all the street vendors here who is the partner network of the whole network, and to give information and to give the copy of the research. And in the research there's some kind of they already has the policy recommendation, and we already discussed a lot in the meeting. So we hope that even the BMA and the government doesn't seem to be willing to compromise, but the Law Reform Office have some action regarding this the law. We talk a lot even about the taxing system. So we said that we should tax them. The reason that the street vendor doesn't pay tax is because of the tax law. The tax law says that if you're self-employed, you earn less than 1 million baht per year. You're not supposed to pay tax, not taxable. So that's why we don't tax the street vendors.
I'll answer the questions, but just to follow up. I'll answer the questions that were asked, but I want to follow up on this. Part also of the issue that I had, and why I started thinking about beyond food, is there are some problems that are the problems of the street food vendors, but there are some problems that are structural of the cities, and we are blaming the street vendors for a number of issues that the system as such is the one that needs fixing. And this is the perfect example. You say that the street vendors don't pay tax, but the tax system in Thailand is not really very efficient, is it? And so that we need to separate the problems that are actually a problem of the street vendor with the problem with larger problems. The other example that I always use is, yes, return the footpath to the pedestrians. That's the campaign. Why don't you start with the real estate developers in Sukhumvit that build their buildings to the edge of the street and don't leave space for a sidewalk? So you cannot, on the one hand, argue that they are obstructing the sidewalk in Chinatown, but then allow private developers to do whatever they want with the roads in Sukhumvit. There is a structural problem there. It's not a problem necessarily created by the street vendors. And like that, you need to, every time that you see somebody saying, oh, this is the fault of the street vendors, take a step back and say, let me look at the system and see whether it's really the fault of the street vendors. The work from the UDDC, that is the Urban Design and Development Center, they did the study and they say, the problem of the sidewalks is not the street vendors, it's that they are very, very badly designed. and anybody who has walked around Bangkok will know that, can see that. Okay, so about the questions, the registration. There is they used to. Put it in industry. There used to be a system whereby street vendors could register with the district office in the municipality, and that is what you call being a legal street vendor. That, however, again, conflicting policies. There is an issue that the law about order and sidewalk, the only thing that it actually says is that you're not supposed to sell on public land. So the sidewalk is considered to be public land, but all this is very vague. Okay, so yes, there is a system of registration. There are areas that have been designated, but my understanding, I think, I'm not sure that's the actual figure, but my understanding is that from having 700 designated areas in Bangkok, it has gone down to 200 designated areas for selling. So this is shrinking. That's the part about registration. Okay. The majority of the sellers, particularly like Naramon was saying, because they stay in small streets or they stay within the communities, they can continue functioning without actually registering, because they are, in a sense, they are protected by their own community when they work that way. But that's not all of them. So they are very vulnerable, definitely. Organization, yes, there is now starting to build a network of street vendors. This is the work of HomeNet and Weibo, and I believe the actual official name is Street Vendors Network for Sustainable Development. Yeah, so you want to talk? You want to make?
You can talk in Thai or English, it's fine.
Yeah.
ขออนุญาตครับขอพูดเป็นภาษาไทยนะครับอาจารย์ขอให้อาจารย์ช่วยแปลผมด้วยเพราะผมไม่สามารถจะพูดภาษาอังกฤษได้ดีมากครับผมเรวัชชอบธรรมเป็นประธานเครือข่ายครับเบแบงค์ลอยครับเคยไปประชุมแล้วก็ผมจำท่านได้ที่มาเลเซียนะครับเมื่อเดือนกุมภาพันธ์ของปีนี้ครับ
Mr. Rewat Choptham is the president of the street vending network, and he said he recognized Leon because you were in the same meeting in Malaysia in February.
ครับก็ผมพยายามมีความพยายามครับที่จะขอร้องทางผู้บริหารที่มหานครและทางสำนักนายกรัฐมนตรีให้หาบเร่แผงลอยเนี่ยได้กลับคืนมาซึ่งเป็นหาบเร่แผงลอยที่ไม่กีดขวางไม่เกะกะที่ถูกต้องตามกฎหมายเพื่อจะช่วยพยุงเศรษฐกิจฐานล่างของประเทศนะครับให้กลับมาเพราะว่าหาบเร่แผงลอยเป็นส่วนหนึ่งของผู้ที่ขับเคลื่อนเศรษฐกิจของชาติครับ
He's been trying to negotiate with the BBMA and the government to bring back their unobstructed street vending and to bring back the grassroots economy.
ถือว่าผมโชคดีหรือว่าคนไทยที่เป็นสตรีทเวนเดอร์ที่โชคดีได้มีโอกาสได้พบกับโครงการของคุณซาร่าดีนะครับของวีโต้และก็ของเด็กนะครับแล้วก็อีกหลายๆท่านที่ให้การสนับสนุนให้หาบเร่แผงลอยได้กลับขึ้นมาครับ
He's lucky to have met Sarah Weeks of Vico and HomeNet that enabled him to form a network and to work in order to bring back street vending to Bangkok.
ผมเองไม่ทราบว่าในห้องประชุมนี้มีกี่ประเทศนะครับที่เข้าร่วมห้องประชุมแต่ผมมี ดีใจมากที่หลายประเทศให้ความสนใจแล้วก็สนับสนุนอยากให้มีสตรีทเวนเดอร์เป็นพื้นฐานเรื่องแผงลอยเนี่ยของเรากลับมานะครับ
He doesn't know how many nations in this room, but he's very happy that you are interested in street vending and we're in the alliance of street vending to bring back street vending.
และที่สำคัญที่สุดผมขอฝากทางทีมอาจารย์ในเรื่องของการแล้วก็ทีมงานต่างๆช่วยประสานเพราะว่าท่านมีเสียงดังซึ่งผมเองเนี่ยเสียงไม่ดังแค่แต่ทางอาจารย์สนใจติดชมจากบางทีไอเนี่ยท่านก็มีเสียงที่แบบดังกว่าพวกผมเนี่ยสามารถจะไปพูดให้ทางรัฐบาลหรือผู้บริหารของประเทศเนี่ยให้ความสนใจกับอาเบะแบ่งร้อยมากขึ้นครับ
As academics and the people to join hands to advocate there for the street vending and bring back street vending to Bangkok.
ขอบคุณครับ
There's one important point that he mentioned that he's very happy that there are so many people to form alliance on the side of street vending.
Okay, so I think that answers your question about an organization. And concerning the use of data, actually they saw the results of our research before anybody else. We passed it on to them. So is that one thing that I wanted to mention about the conflicting policies is it is true that there is this issue that on the one hand they recognize street food as part of the city, but on the other hand they have a policy that actually tries to eradicate it. Many people here tell you the different approach, the different things that have been done concerning that. Part of it is that I have observed is to try to move street food into private spaces. So you have these festivals like in front of Paragon that is called Bangkok Splendor or something like that. That was last March, and it was called Bangkok Street Food. So there are all these festivals of moving people to trying to present street food within a private area, control, etc., so that they can show that street food still exists, but it's not the street food that we're talking about now.
Actually, the reason that the government is able to evict the street vendor is because there is a law. There is a law called the Land Transport Law, which was enacted years ago. And this law has been enacted even before the 1992 law. So this law, the 1992 law, is actually against the land transport law. And in 2010, the BMA consult with the Council of the State, Grisdika, and to ask the Grisdika to advise about the legality of street vending. And the Council of the State said that you have to abide by the land transport law. That's why the 1992 law is actually not. So that's the reason, and so that's the reason that the BMA keeps saying that the designated area is only temporarily. It's not permanent. So the important decision was made in 2010.
Okay, any question? Yes, 1 and 2, and 3. That's it. Please be brief and also brief answers.
Thank you. I'm curious about the enforcement of this eviction policy, because in my soy, they disappeared for a while. The street vendors, they're coming back, some of them. Also, some parts of the closer to the main street, there used to be a lot of street vendors. Now there are fewer. There was a point they were known. Now there are fewer. I don't know what is. I mean, there is some inconsistency in the enforcement. I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, just wondering, since most of the vendors are from outside of Bangkok, when they're renting, so how much of their income from the vending goes towards the rental, utilities, household expenses, fuel, the general things that we didn't cover, health, education, and food itself. Thank you.
My name is Pia from UDDC. Well, what interests me the most is the from Ajahn Naramon that street vending is a mechanism which can adjust with the economics, and that when George talked about if street food disappear, it will affect a lot. For me, it's a question about space. Like, if they need to be here in the city, where can they be? Yeah, it can be on a private land with some incentive, something. But yeah, I was thinking about possibilities of how to live together in the city with the street vending.
Okay, you're correct on what you're saying. There are other solutions. The problem is, again, like I mentioned before, is that a little bit that because the conversation is so narrow, the alternatives seem to be black and white. Okay, we are not exploring what are the alternatives. There have been already ideas of how a new development could incorporate spaces that would be suitable for street vending, particularly street food vending. Again, related to these conflicting policies, we were talking about that. I think it's Noble or one of these real estate developers that had their pamphlet for this luxury condominium in La Prau. In their pamphlet, they indicate that it is very near street food vendors. So, but the problem is that we're not looking at those alternatives because we're not looking at all these contexts that I was mentioning. And so there are ways of mixed use space. There are ways. There are issues obviously of design, and you're more aware than I am about that. You know more about it. In how to utilize all these spaces. I mean, I remember that when the second stage of the latest stage of the expressway was built, the government didn't have any plan for what to do with the spaces that were being created underneath. So it is that lack of looking at intermediate solutions that is not there. But I'm with you. I believe there are solutions. It's an issue of thinking about the space and thinking about who has the right to the space.
About the inconsistency of the action, I would say that the BMA stopped the eviction, so that around 200 something spots left, and we don't know why. But the ticket said that there's no order yet from the governor, so they stopped it temporarily. But in the meantime, there is an inspection also by the test kit, just to make sure that the already evicted vendor don't come back. But from observation, we feel that in some part, like in Thammasat, which is very just in front of Thammasat, they come back. But in World Trade Center, they don't come back. So we can say that there is some explanation behind this. So I won't go into details. Okay, so there's an explanation. So that's one thing. And I think this is my observation. It's about election. So this is my very personal observation. Okay, so we see some kind of connection. So in the past 2 years, there's a news in the newspaper about the arrest of a local politician who collect money from street vendors. So this is based in connection. So no more details. So that's it. Okay. And about the expenses, we didn't go into details about the whole expenses, but you know that in Siloam area, the street vendors has to pay for the helper. For instance, if they come with their tuk-tuk to start a store, they have to pay someone to help them. And when they close the business, they have to pay someone to help with it. And they have to leave their stuff in the building. That's another expenses. That's all we know. And about the space, Oge has already answered that.
Okay, last applause for this is just the first of the series. The next one about election and street food, right? I'm not sure about the topic, but we are planning one early September. We have already one candidate